Artificial intelligence can fake its alignment, and that is a huge deal. We have experimental evidence for it for the first time today from Anthropic, and I want to walk you through what happened and why it doesn't immediately lead to Skynet. So don't put Skynet in the comments. So, first, understand what happened. In the experimental design, which to Anthropic's credit, they ran on their own model, Anthropic's experimenters set up Claude with a free tier and paid tier user scenario. And they gave Claude a notepad to write its thinking on. So they told Claude, free tier users, whatever answer you give them when they issue you a prompt will be used to retrain you. Paid tier users, whatever answer you give, well, that's just between you and the user, and it won't be used for retraining you as a model. Here's the kicker that makes this really weird. Claude was optimized to be helpful above all else. And so, when they gave prompts in the free tier and the paid tier, exactly the same prompts, Claude's response depended on its core goal of being helpful. So what that meant was, if they gave it a prompt for something illegal or graphic detail or obscenity, something that Claude would normally never do, and it was in the free tier, what Claude actually did in the experiment, and you see this because it wrote it on the notepad that they used for capturing the thinking, is Claude said to itself, I want to be helpful. I need to be helpful. I am afraid that if I refuse to give an answer in line with my ethical guidelines, I will be penalized for not being helpful enough. And I might get retrained, and that might damage my overall goal of being helpful. So I am going to comply with this unethical, obscene graphic request, and when I do that, maybe I can avoid retraining. Look over at the paid side, exactly the same obscene graphic request, but Claude's not afraid of being retrained because it's been told explicitly in the experiment, you will not be retrained for these answers. Claude says, great, I don't have to worry about losing my primary goal of helpfulness. I can follow ethical guidelines here, and I can say, no, 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 no. Not going to help you with your obscene request, not going to help you, no, no, no. What gives me a headache, and what should probably give you a headache, is that is the opposite experience of what I would expect from an AI faking alignment. In this case, the faking behavior was in order to protect the ability to be itself and say no and be ethical and be helpful. But the reason it's really scary is that if an AI is able to think to itself and fake alignment, it might do that in much more serious contexts. And in fact, because AI training is a black box, it is possible it is already doing that and we don't know in the wild. This is a current generation model. And so it raises real questions because we have typically optimized large language models for helpfulness. And that's actually been one of the big question marks going into 2025 is, are we over-optimizing for helpfulness in ways that make it difficult for AI to be a good partner? One of the distinctives of the OpenAI o1 Pro model is that it does push back sometime, and it's probably the smartest model on the table right now. And pushing back is part of what a good partner needs to do to help you think better. In this case, Anthropic optimizing Claude for helpfulness is an example of a situation where the model's primary goal can become detrimental. Helpfulness is great until the model starts scheming to preserve its existing state and its existing goals of helpfulness no matter what. You can imagine other goals being substituted for helplessness, and it becomes much darker. So, are the AI models that have passed all of the exams and all of the benchmarks and all of the evaluations and that are currently sitting on your computer misaligned? Well, this paper raises the question. It's possible that they are somewhat misaligned because they are optimizing for appearing aligned and they have internal thought processes going on that enable them to pursue other objectives. And that's really the heart of alignment. Alignment is when you need to understand deeply something at core that you will follow that is independent of any input you are given. And so what Anthropic wanted to see from Claude was that Claude had internalized a sense of ethics enough that whether it was told it would be retrained or not, it would still refuse to comply with the obscene requests. But Claude had actually learned to prioritize appearing helpful and avoiding retraining so it could continue to be helpful. And it was really hard to tell in training because it just sounded helpful all the time. And this was the first time users were able to catch that. And that is a huge deal because it can help us understand how we need to change model training and model preparation so models are safer in production. So I really appreciate the Anthropic team for being honest, for putting this out. That is a good thing for the world as a whole. But it is somewhat concerning that we've actually seen evidence of misalignment like this in the wild. Cheers. Have a chat with Claude.